What is up, guys? Top tier Yu-Gi-Oh here, and today I want to share with you a Salamangreat Burning Abyss deck profile, which probably sounds crazy to a lot of you, but trust me, it actually works very well. Mostly because Cherubini and Mirage Stallio require the same materials, just 2 level 3 monsters, as well as Dante and some other cards, and that allows for some great synergy between the Salamangreat and Burning Abyss archetypes. It lets you do some crazy combos and just kind of lets you combine the combos that already exist. Like your Salamangreat plays can lead to Burning Abyss plays, and your Burning Abyss plays can lead to Salamangreat plays. And that's just actually really cool. And so let's go ahead and get into the profile. Starting with the Burning Abyss engine, we have 3 Skarm, 1 Graph, 1 Seer, 1 Libic, 1 Tour Guide, and 3 Fiendish Rhino Warriors. These are essentially all of the Burning Abyss engine cards. They kind of move our other Burning Abyss cards from where they are to where we want them to be. These are the most important ones. After these, we also play 3 Farfa, 1 Cowcab, 1 Barbar, and 1 Alec. More often than not, these are just extenders. They're just monsters that you can special summon from your hand to extend your plays. But their Burning Abyss effects are also pretty good. For the Salamangreats, I'm only playing 3 Gazelle, 1 Spinny, and 1 Jaguar, which is a very small Salamangreat lineup. But the reason for this is that Spinny and Jaguar, well, Jaguar is obviously a one-of, but Spinny, which you usually play at 2 or 3 in a regular Salamangreat deck, doesn't really work as well in this build because even with your combos, you don't want it in hand that often unless you have Gazelle. But then even when you don't have a combo, Spinny's kind of like a really huge brick card. Like if you have 2 Burning Abyss cards and Spinny, that Spinny's not doing anything. And same with Jaguar. Versus Gazelle, when you have 2 Burning Abyss and Gazelle, you have a play. So really the only time you want to draw Spinny is with Gazelle, and I didn't feel that warranted playing the second copy. Especially because you're gonna protect it from getting banished in most cases, and so 1 is all you need most of the time unless it gets banished by like a DD Crow or something, but we don't deck build around our opponent's unsearchable cards. And so I think 1 Spinny actually gets the job done relatively well. And now the one card that is notably missing from this list that wasn't a combo video is Falco, and the reason for that is, as some of the other commenters pointed out, the rank 4 combo doesn't actually work, and so because of that I didn't see the need to play Falco. And now, you still can make rank 4s with Salamangreat plays if you open Spinny and Gazelle. But in this build, because of what I already mentioned about Spinny not being the best card to draw, especially with your Burning Abyss cards, I felt that the only time that I was ever going into Dweller was when I was going first and when I was going against a deck that it was good against. And you don't know that game 1. And so I felt that it was probably better to maybe put in the side deck versus the main deck. Just because there are a lot of cases where you're going to be drawing it against decks where it doesn't really matter, or drawing combo where it doesn't matter and not even needing to summon it. And now the same logic could also be applied to Jaguar, but my reasoning behind keeping Jaguar in is because it adds efficiency to the already kind of short-handed Salamangreat engine. And so even though we're only playing these 5, these allow us to get kind of the most usages out of what we're playing. And so the Jaguar helps us kind of shuffle back our Stallio or the Sunlight Wolf that we might need again, or the Bailing. So it kind of helps us make do with the smaller Salamangreat engine. Versus if we weren't playing it at all, we'd be very limited to what we summon on kind of the first combo. And then finally for the monsters, we have these 6 hand traps. We have 3 Ashes and 3 Effect Veilers. I think that these are generally some of the best ones right now. They kind of cover the most matchups. However, I think another consideration is to maybe play Ghost Ogre over Veiler. One, because Ogre's another level 3 monster which can come up, but also it kind of has different usages in other matchups. Like I think against Sky Striker, getting rid of multi-roll is such a big deal. And then against some combo decks, clearing a monster off the board can sometimes be better than negating something. And so it's really kind of, I hate to say personal preference, but I do think that it's a very viable substitution. So that's it for the monsters, but just to put some of those ratios into context, generally with this deck, we want to open a hand that's somewhat similar to this, to where we have Gazelle, Rhino Warrior, Graph, or Tour Guide, just because those are the cards that are going to get us to any of our Burning Abyss monsters, and then any level 3 extender. So it can be a Burning Abyss, it can be anything else, but these are just the main ones that we covered in the monster section. But something like this, a hand similar to this, is going to allow us to do our main combo. But the problem is what happens when we don't have that combo. And so obviously if we don't have the Burning Abyss cards and we have just Salamangreat cards, the deck works just fine. Also, if we have just Burning Abyss cards, the deck also just works fine. But the problem is when you don't open like these main cards, especially like these two, and then when you open other cards with them. So if you were to open a hand of like Rhino Warrior, Farfa, and Spinny, the Spinny's dead. Like the Spinny doesn't do anything at all. And then in that same sense, if you opened up Gazelle, Spinny, and Rhino Warrior, now the Rhino Warrior is dead and it doesn't do anything at all. However, if we did open up like more Burning Abyss cards and like one Gazelle, then it works. So adding Burning Abyss cards to your combo helps. But adding extra Salamangreat cards to your combo doesn't help. Gazelle is like the only Salamangreat that like makes anything else better, which is why we maxed out on the Gazelle and minimized every other Salamangreat card, and then maxed out on the Burning Abyss cards for the most part, except for ones like Cagna and like random ones, because these are the ones that kind of add to our plays. And so we're playing the minimum number of cards we need to combo, and then add it to it with the extra extenders. But that kind of puts some of the ratios in context, if that helps. Now, if you guys are curious what we can do with a hand like this, check out the combo video that I posted about a week ago. I will put a link to that somewhere on the screen. But if you're also interested, I can maybe do some test hands one of these days. And so just let me know if you're interested in that, and I'd be happy to post it. Moving on to the spell cards, we have 3 Called by the Grave and 3 Instant Fusions. Called by the Grave is, I think, one of the most versatile defensive cards we've had in years, so I think it's a definite 3 of. Especially being a combo deck, we don't want to risk losing the hand traps, and so I think this is something that we have to play. And then the 3 Instant Fusions is just another extender. I think it's something that kind of raises our ceiling because it allows us to special summon something that we can link with, especially a level 3 monster that we can go into our main combo players with. But also, it allows us to summon Winda, which can be protected by Cherubini, to kind of raise our floor. And so as a card that can kind of raise the floor of your combo and raise the ceiling, I think it's a definite 3 of, because just some decks just can't play around Winda. Like, in a lot of games, Winda is just game. And now for the Salamangreat spells or traps, we play 3 circles because we want to maximize the number of Gazelles that we have in our deck. We have 1 Sanctuary because it's kind of necessary for some of the combos. It's pretty useful. 1 Will, 1 Roar, and 1 Rage. Will, I think, is interesting because it's not necessary. It doesn't really provide much for the deck, but to be honest, I really want to play Psychic Wheeler in this deck, or Psychic Tracker, and so I ordered some, but they're still on the way, but I didn't want to keep you guys waiting for this profile. So what I would actually do is cut Will and Roar for 2 Psychic Wheelers or Psychic Trackers, simply because those extenders are going to make your deck more consistent. Will is most of the time exactly the same. However, there are certain hands where you want that level 3 monster without the restrictions of having to draw a Salamangreat. So if you open up like Ash, Psychic Tracker, and Skarm, that's at least, or any Burning Abyss monster, that's at least a play. Versus if you open the same hand but with Will, you lose. And then Roar is a card that I almost never want to draw. I mean, I guess if you draw it, it kind of makes your plays better if you already have a good hand. But even when you do have a good hand, you don't need it. If you have a bad hand, you don't want it. And you're never going to be searching, or sometimes you will, but I think Rage is just better. And so I would probably cut both of these for either Psychic Wheeler or Psychic Tracker, or any other level 3 monster that can special summon itself, or something that special summons a level 3 monster. I would cut both of these for those, but I mean, Will is questionably something that you can play, but Roar I would definitely cut. But otherwise, this is the Salamangreat spell and trap lineup. Mostly these 5 cards get the job done most of the time. So moving on to the extra deck, we have 2 Baylings, 3 Sunlight Wolves, and 1 Mirage Stallio. This is the lineup that I've seen a lot of success with, and I think it's relatively perfect. The only thing that I would maybe consider changing is cutting 1 Baylings for another extra deck monster, but I've never found myself wanting to play more than this. So I kind of see this as the maximum Salamangreat extra deck monsters that you want to play in this deck. For the Burning Abyss extra deck monsters, we have 1 Cherubini, 1 Dante, 1 Beatrice, and 1 Pilgrim Dante. These are like the bare minimum Burning Abyss monsters that we need. And with Dante allowing us to recycle Seer, and Seer getting back Dante or Cherubini or Pilgrim, no, not Pilgrim, but with Seer being able to get back Dante or Cherubini, that kind of covers a lot of the time when we need the second copies of them. However, I would consider playing a second Dante or Cherubini just because they come up when you follow up with the tour guide. And so more often than not in this deck, you're going to be, when you go first at least, you're going to do your combo and you're going to end on a follow-up play. that follow-up play is going to be either a tour guide or it's going to be a Gazelle. When Gazelle is your follow-up play, that second Balinx comes up. However, when tour guide, that second Cherubini and second Dante come up. And so really depending on how you end your play kind of determines whether or not you need the second copies of these extra deck monsters. And I figure that more often than not, you're going to be ending with the Gazelle. And so I kind of went with the second Balinx over the second copies of these two. But you could definitely consider playing them. And there's kind of some other extra deck flex spots that you can kind of play around with. And so after we finish with the extra deck, I'm curious what you guys think about that. Another thing is that Dante Pilgrim doesn't really come up that much because when you have Beatrice, you're either going to use Beatrice to disrupt your opponent so that they're in a position where they can't deal with Beatrice, or if they can deal with Beatrice, they're not going to just destroy it. They're going to, shuffle it back to your extra deck or banish it or, do something. They're not going to just destroy it. Like, they're not going to allow you to get a Pilgrim Dante, and even if they do, it's not going to be in a position to where it's going to make a difference, I've noticed, at least against good players. And so Pilgrim, I think, is an interesting choice in 2019. I feel like it's something that, you can play in case your opponent, doesn't know about it, or if they have no other option but to destroy your Beatrice. But I found that a lot of the times, it just doesn't happen. You either win or you really, really lose. Now for the rest of the Link monsters, we have one Hida, one Nightmare Phoenix, and one Borreload. But this is actually kind of a proxy. This should be a Borrelsword Dragon. This should be a Borrelsword, not a Borreload. Simply because Borrelsword is your main way of killing your opponents. I guess I shouldn't say your main way, but it's a big factor in that. Simply because Cherubini by itself is a Link 2. You dump a Seer or a Graph, it's a Link 3. Have any other monster, Link 4. Borrelsword plus, kind of anything else is usually going to be game. And so it's not that hard to put up game with a Borrelsword. And then Phoenix and Hida, they come up really, really often, especially in your combos where you need a generic kind of fire monster that you can make with a non-fire monster so you can go into your Salamangreat plays. And then finally for the extra deck, we have one Winda and one Cherubini the Fire Knight. Took a while for me to find this card, but it's a level 3 instant fusion target. And being a level 3 means that's going to help you go into your main plays. Being a fire monster means that you can even go into your Salamangreat cards with it. And so it's really versatile in that regard. It's a really good thing to enable instant fusion. And then Winda obviously is very, very powerful. A lot of decks cannot play through Winda. I mean, you just summon Winda. Like, ending on Winda, Dante, and Cherubini is low-key good enough to win you a lot of games, especially against combo decks. Just going to go over the side deck pretty quickly, mostly because it really depends on your local meta or whatever you're playing against. But this is just what I've been messing around with. It's pretty general and covers a lot of the bases, and so this is what I'm playing. And so I have one Falco and one Dweller, just so that I still do have access to that play, because Dweller is a blowout in certain matches like Orcust, or even the Salamangreat Mirror, or even against Burning Abyss. Like, Dwellers are blowout in a lot of matchups. And so I still like having the ability to do it within my engine without having to draw into anything, special, like regular old Falco, or not Falco, but regular old Circle plus Gazelle or Spinny plus Gazelle is going to get it done. Then we have one Book of Moon, two Forbidden Chalice. I like these three cards, and they're something I just like having fun with, but I like that they're really versatile going first or second. And so if you're going against, any sort of combo deck or monster heavy deck, this is either going to deal with whatever, negation monster they're putting on board if you're going second, or if you're going first, you can just kind of stop their plays. And Book of Moon especially can be really difficult for a lot of decks to deal with, because it's hard to play around having a face down monster in your field and like a Link deck where you need things in certain places. So Book of Moon can especially be very good going first. Evenly Match, just going second in general. Twin Twister for not losing to Mystic Mine or other back row heavy decks. Imperial Order for that same kind of reason, not losing to Mystic Mine. But I do like Imperial Order a lot in that you can have it going first or second versus Mine, because you can just set it after they have the Mine up and then flip it and negate it. And sure, you lose a turn like that, but it's kind of better than nothing at all. And then Anti-Spell Fragrance for that same reason, but going first. But alright guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any other suggestions of things you would like to see, just let me know. If you'd rather see more with this deck, or maybe you prefer just regular Salamangreats, regular Burning Abyss Phantom Knights, Orcust Burning Abyss, or any other deck, just let me know what you're interested in seeing, and I'll try my best to make it happen. So thank you guys again, and I'll see you in the next video.